That's interesting. I learned something from this. Not just you guys. Alright there, you little demons. Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and author Lee hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown jewels of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you. Yes, you, the person who may look even more puffy-eyed than usual. I think I've got a sinus infection. Hooray! Hooray! Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week, and this week we have none other than Liam Mick for their suggestion of video games that told you they promised you that you were 100% totally safe, but they ended up lying to you. For shame! That was to the video games, not to you, Liam. You're a legend. Now, pacing is everything in video games because if developers don't portion out the chaos with necessary moments of respite, well, players can end up feeling exhausted in the worst way possible. And so, it's pretty much a given that even action-packed and the most intense of video games will insert moments of safety and quiet amidst all the carnage, where the player is, without a doubt, entirely safe. But of course, these moments give rise to a different type of developer, one that sees those tropes and says, how about no? How about on edge all the time? Panic, panic, panic. Trust me, mate, I'm nervous at the best of times. I don't need this. But apparently, I've got more than a few examples to share with you today. So let's chat about them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video games that promised you were totally safe, but lied to you. Cheers. Number 8, the door animations, Resident Evil 2. Now, the original Resident Evil established the series' instantly iconic loading screen door animations, each of which provided brief moments of respite as players ventured from one room to the next with no possibility of a famished zombie attacking them during those few precious seconds. Except for, of course, that one door in the OG version of Resident Evil 2. In the building behind the police station, opening the grey metal door will lead into what seems to be another garden variety loading screen, only for 2 zombies to suddenly appear out of nowhere in the middle of the animation, complete with pants-soilingly scary music to boot, forcing you into an immediate combat engagement. Now trust me, I've opened many doors onto things that I should never have seen. Oh God, why did my parents not lock the door? But this was somehow even worse because this was a childhood memory that stuck with me into my adult life and still terrifies me to this day. Actually, they both do. Ugh, gross. No, they were in love. It was fine. It was fine. Now, for anyone who put down their controller for a few seconds to, I don't know, sip their drink, scratch their head, or basically do anything else, it was one of these game's greatest, oh bloody hell moments, and one which left a bruising effect on anyone that was caught by it. After spending hours across the first 2 Resident Evil games believing that the door animations were 100% safe, the sequel made it clear that even those fleeting slivers of peace weren't totally sacred. Thanks, Capcom. Kinda wish they brought it back, though, for another one, but they can't really do it now that everything doesn't need loading anymore. Old man yells at cloud. Number 7, the workbench ambush, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, whatever you make of it overall, there's little denying that The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the most viscerally intense video games of the last 5 years or so. An almost relentlessly brutal horror action game that'll shred your nerve endings to ribbons. As with its predecessor, throughout the game you will encounter workbenches which can be used to upgrade your weapons, and it's quickly made clear that these stations are effectively safe areas where you can improve your arsenal without being pestered by the likes of clickers or human adversaries. But Naughty Dog evidently couldn't resist messing with the player at least once in the sequel, as when exploring a series of apartments in Seattle in the game's 3rd chapter, players who use the nearby workbench will be swiftly ambushed by a group of human foes, one of whom immediately attacks Ellie from behind. It is a totally jarring, pulse-quickening moment that interrupts an apparent break in all of the action, assuring players that even these, their trusty workbenches, are not safe. However, there is one thing that this does teach you, which is that on subsequent playthroughs, you can actually prepare for this ambush. If you know it's coming, you can actually line the area with mines, and once they come in just going like, oh, I've got the drop on you, you go, oh really? Hear the sound of that? Click. Not one of my little cordyceps friends over there. That's the sound of you triggering a mine. You idiot, you dumb idiot, you dumb smelly idiot. What are you gonna do? Move? That's what Ellie was like. Number 6, Man Bat out of nowhere, Batman Arkham Knight. Now, though the Batman Arkham games have had their fair share of freaky-deaky moments, often courtesy of the Joker, Arkham Knight definitely dared to pull a fast one over pretty much all the player base when they felt that they were the most safest of all. While soaring through the air in carefree fashion as the Caped Crusader, if you decide to grapple onto a certain building near Miagani Island, there's a random chance that you will trigger an animation in which the villainous Man-Bat suddenly appears on the roof out of nowhere. This grotesque creature will screech at the Batman before unsuccessfully attempting to swipe him off the side of the building and then flies off into the night. It was, in a word, Sai, how would you describe this? On a level, get out the pants poopometer scale that we built. Remember that one summer, way back when? Just on there, we're in the brown sector. We're in the very brown sector. Yeah, it was quite squidgy. Yeah. It wasn't a wasted summer, it was very enjoyable times, loved it. And if that's not enough to knock your superhero confidence, later on in the game you might end up suffering through a second jump scare, this time with the Joker showing up on the roof, cackling in your face and mocking you for being startled by Man-Bat. But I've got a little message here for Man-Bat. Why don't you, alright mate, come closer, why don't you off and mind your own business, mate? Why don't you chill out, man? Why don't you just chill out? You're going flying around, screeching in my face, I don't like that. I don't like loud noises, especially being screamed at me by some dude who could use a bit of cosmetics, know what I'm saying? So why don't you just chill? That's what Batman was thinking at that time. He was like, why don't you just chill, man, Bat? Number 5, the Fortress of Doom, Doom Eternal. Now, although truly safe places are few and far between in the Doom franchise, Doom Eternal's story mode introduced a hub area called the Fortress of Doom, a space station in which the Doomslayer uses as a HQ. Between missions, you can head there for a breather, unlock gear and upgrades, and even visit the incredibly metal training area known as the Rippertorium. God damn, that's such a cool name. But at one point in the story, this veil of apparent safety is torn asunder when the fortress is suddenly overtaken by the game's main antagonist, the Khan Maker, who overloads the system and unleashes a ton of demons in your midst, turning the otherwise peaceful ship interior into a straight-up bloody battlefield. And I do mean bloody by the time you've finished with it. I would hate to be the cleaner after this. While it's ultimately only a brief engagement in the game, it does nevertheless serve as a potent reminder to players that even their supposed haven free of hell's horrifying forces is not immune from being compromised. Kind of like when you let your little brother into your room. Just like, put that down, that's very expensive, please don't break that. No, don't worry about it, that only took me 25 hours to paint that one model, and now you've eaten it. Number 4, the Back Hall, Amnesia the Dark Descent. So, Amnesia the Dark Descent ranks among the most stressful and sanity-eroding survival horror games ever made, and so when it offers up a seemingly safe area called the Back Hall, it's impossible not to take a deep, long breath, like this. But then also you go, really? 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 And then you see it, and oh god. The Back Hall has a ton of light and space, there are no enemies around, and it even got some nicely serene piano music. I mean, yes, there's a creepy fountain right there, but let's just forget about that for now, shall we? Shall we? But a little later on, this safe space will be invaded by the game's primary antagonist, the Shadow, an ill-intentioned, invisible enemy. Beyond stalking you, it will also fill the hall with a flesh-like substance and turn the water in the fountain into blood. Because why the hell not at that point, right? You've already ruined the feng shui of this room. Just add a bit of blood to it. Just add a bit of blood to it. I don't mind. I'm already dead. In a way, it's genuinely devastating to see this once serene place turned into this, but at the same time, you gotta commend the developers for taking that one moment of peace and turning it into another brilliantly planned jump scare. Number 3, Ned's dead, or is he? Borderlands The Zombie Island of Dr. Ned. Now, The Zombie Island of Dr. Ned, the DLC for the first Borderlands game, concludes with a face-off against the Mad Doctor himself, which is actually a shockingly brief shootout in which all but the most inept of players will make short work of him in around 60 seconds or so. And within moments of him flopping dead, that's it. The credits begin to roll and you can just put down your controller, have a snack, go and do whatever you want to do because you have just beaten the DLC, baby. Wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, fella, get out of my face. Hey! Because wrong, a few seconds later, Dr. Ned reappears, cutting through the credits and screaming, "It's not over yet." As it turns out, Ned has been resurrected as the zombified undead Ned for a more conventional and definitely more challenging arena-style boss fight. Now, most average skilled players won't struggle again to defeat Ned, but even so, for anyone who walked off the moment the credits rolled, they were probably in for quite a shock when they returned to a game over. To be fair though, they kind of brought it on themselves. If you're the type of person that just goes like, cool, finish the game, I'm done, I'm going to leave, while the credits go, these people, give them a bit of respect, they worked hard on that game. I'm saying that like I do. I usually skip through it as well. I know, I'm a terrible person. Number 2, the private rooms, Death Stranding. Now, technically speaking, Death Stranding's private rooms do keep you safe and that you can't be physically harmed by any of the entities populating the world outside, but mentally, well, that's not the case. Not so much, my friend. Because, in theory, the private rooms don't just offer players a direct escape from the horrors littering the post-apocalyptic landscape, but they also give you as much time as you want to hang out, drink a can or two of Monster Energy, the boys, have a shower, get rid of that grime, wash the Monster Energy out of your mouth, and then get some shut-eye as well for good measure. Except, there's a random possibility that Sam will end up having a nightmare which disrupts all of this peace. These can include a ghostly figure turning up in the shower, BB either violently breaking out of its containment unit or transforming into Guillermo del Toro's Dead Man, or a giant whale attempting to devour Sam. Yeah, that classic dream that we all have. Ooh, watch out, it's the whale. Ah. Luckily, I've been listening to Mastodon, mate, yeah? I'm coming for you when I got the soundtrack for it. And as if to double down on the terror, Hideo Kojima added even more of these nightmares for the director's cut. Oh, thanks, mate. Cheers. Oi, winner! And number 1, Room 302, Silent Hill 4, The Room. Now, the 4th Silent Hill game seriously changed up the formula to the survival horror series by having protagonist Henry Townsend attempting to escape his apartment when he is inexplicably sealed inside. The apartment, Room 302, is nevertheless the only safe area in the entire game, serving as a hub area which allows Henry to save and restore his health in between trips outside the apartment through holes that materialise in the very walls and floors. But in the back half of the game, Room 302 will become increasingly overrun by terrifying supernatural phenomena, with these hauntings ultimately chipping away at Henry's health. Even accepting that you're sealed in your home from the jump, Konami nevertheless took the most primal form of sanctuary that exists, someone's own dwelling, and progressively made it a host for horror. At this point in time, I'm very glad that there are no ghosts behind me right now. And if there are, I know that Sai will edit them out. And I'm going to turn around in 3 seconds' time and not be surprised. 3, 2, ah! And though Silent Hill 4 remains a firmly divisive entry into the franchise for straying from the original trilogy's well-honed formula, it is nevertheless perhaps the ultimate example of a game that lulls you into a false sense of security behind that chained apartment door. If you want my opinion on the game, by the way, I think it's a low-key banger. Silent Hill 4 is one of those games that deserves like a reappraisal in the modern era. I think it's really, really good. I'm just saying it. Story's a bit, but I enjoyed it. The rest of it's like, yeah. That's my thoughts on it. Brilliant. And there we have it, my friends. Those were 8 times video games lied to you by convincing you that you were safe. Boo on them. Boo on them indeed. But I hope that you, my friend, watching this are doing well. I hope that you treat yourself with love and respect because you deserve the bloody best, all right? And do not let anything or anyone else, not even the ghost that's behind me again, tell you otherwise. Get out of here, my friend. But I also just want you to live a healthy and happy life. Remember, above all else, you are a massive ledge. Now go out there and absolutely smash it. If you want to follow myself and Sai, you can do so by following us here on the social medias there and over there as well. Big love to you all. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week here on Choose Your Own Adventure. Bye. And he walks off. That's how I walk.